Thank you, Mr. Cheney Ho, for your impressive insights. In the next section, our second keynote speaker will discuss reimagining the unicorns of the future. He will be sharing his insights into the success factors to nurture a new generation of innovators to catalyze the growth of a vibrant startup ecosystem in close partnership with universities. This will set a stronger footing to grow the startups of today to become unicorns of tomorrow. An ecosystem builder with over 30 years of global academic, professional, and business acumen gained over an illustrious career, he leverages his deep understanding of the mechanics behind the Asian region to guide startups and SMEs' expansion plans into new markets. He is also the chairman of the Singapore Mentorship Committee, vice chair at the Singapore Chamber of Commerce and Industry in China, and director of SICC's Board of Directors. May I introduce our second speaker, Senior Partner, Neff Group Spieler AG, and Chairman, Singapore Mentorship Committee, Dr. David Ong. Before we welcome Dr. Ong, let's first take a look at the Singapore Mentorship Committee.
This is an era of simplicity, authenticity, and efficiency. An era of full competition. Singapore Mentorship Committee focuses on bringing together the experience and wisdom of successful international entrepreneurs and the keen perception of the world of the younger generation to fully integrate the cultural strengths of different countries and to complement one another as we adapt to a changing world today. As a not-for-profit organization, SMC is dedicated to creating a leading mentoring platform that embraces innovation. We provide collaboration opportunities, networks, and resources for the students of institutions of higher learning, young entrepreneurs, and business leaders. We have established strong partnerships with Singapore International Chamber of Commerce, Business China, the Law Society of Singapore, and institutions of higher learning in Singapore. Through the exchange and collaboration of mentors from different countries, we are able to focus more on matching new technology applications with different markets, enabling our innovative generation to reach a new level of market awareness and integration. We develop and promote a culture of continuous learning. We have organized diversified programs for students, startups, mentors, and enterprises. Embrace legacy and innovation. Join hands for a better future, connecting the global perspectives and resources of our mentors and partners. We are committed to nurturing young talent, entrepreneurial leadership, and business innovation for Singapore and Asia.
Hi, thank you, the SUTD and Professor Yeo for giving SMC the opportunity to share these topics. We will start now. Okay, today our topic is reimagining unicorns of the future. It's a very interesting topic. This is prepared by myself and one of the mentees of SMC. And after this preparation, and also gone through a few months training by this SMC. This is the key point is she also want to be one of the youth mentor for other youth. Now, the key points of this presentation is the information slide are very, very informative. So we will run through the slide very quickly and we'll highlight the key takeaway in some of the slides. And also for anyone who are interested in this presentation PDF file, please get it from the first organizers. Now, the requirement for reimagining unicorn of the future, we think that mindset is the first thing. Second thing is only the global ready leader can nurture global ready new generation. So we will highlight one point is the mindset need to change, but the mindset need to change is come from the parents. The parent, because when we're giving the speech, as many of these young generation, young teenager ask, when should I go overseas? I told them that it's 2 years old. Because by the time you go, when you're in the university, it could be too late. So the parents know what is happening now and also the future to prepare you well to be global ready, so-called the new generation, and global ready could be unicorns. Okay. Now, to do that, we need to know the past, present, and future, and you need to equip the teenager and the youth and the children to be a global ready. So to do that, you need to know the past and know what is going on in the present and prepare them with the skill and capacity for the future. Right. So what is unicorn? Unicorn is any private company with valuation more than $1 billion before they go for listing. And this is a number of our unicorn right now, but information is important. You based on the CB US, right? There are only 611 unicorn right now. But if you based on the information from other sources like Deloitte and also the information from China and India, then today the number of unicorn is close to 600, close to 700, and close to 80% are from US and China. So here, I'd like to highlight one key takeaway is the explosiveness of China unicorns, right? So in 2013, there were only less than 10 unicorn from China. But today, they are close to less than 10 years, right? They are close to 40% of the unicorn in the world. And not only that, the unicorn investor from China, okay, they are dominating the top 10s. Right, the top few, they are all these are so-called Chinese investors, right? And the number of so the valuation of this top 10 is close to 50% of other unicorns. And look at the VC investor. In 2011, there were only 4, okay, and in among the top 100 from China. But today, right, there are 26. From China. Not only that, the top 5 all the VC investors are from China. These are young and energetic investors. The key question you may ask, why they improve so fast? Why the Chinese VC can so-called dominate the world in the top 10 so fast? The keyword is catcher. They are able to find the investor at the early stage, be it whether in China or in US. Look at the numbers of by SoftBank and other big investors. They are at the early stage, so-called the catcher is only handful, right? But so in other words, be it whether from Norway, from Qatar, from Singapore, or from US, all these big so-called the VC investors, they are coming at the later stage. Or else, on the other hand, the Chinese investor, they're coming at the earlier stage. So in other words, their investment and return on investment is low and return on investment is higher. So the question is, why all these China VC and unicorn so-called can grow so fast, including their economic growth? Okay, now, all these experts will tell you about the strength between China and the US. Okay, now, the way our fact will show you that the gap between Chinese and the US is getting smaller and smaller. And in many aspects, the Chinese are ahead of the US. I want to go through every point. These are the facts, right, of the Chinese performance right now in terms of GDP, top 500 MNC, and number of top bank. So I will highlight I draw attention to the number of billionaire. In terms of billionaire, the Chinese and number of billionaire right now on the record is about the same as the US. But in fact, there are many of these Chinese billionaire are so-called are not published. So based on the actual figure, there could be a lot more than the US. You can refer to this chart. Now, in 2017, the number of unicorn, the number of billionaire is maybe half. But today, you show that in less than a few years, they are about the same. And if you look at the rate of growth, right, so the number of Chinese so-called billionaire will be far ahead of this US by 2030. Now, you may ask why, okay? So if you look at this chart, it's very important. Right. You see in year 2000, the US was a superpower not only in military but also in trade. But as the year go by, you see the pink color and the red color and keep increasing. That means that China become the number one trade partner of all these countries. And by year 2015 and even to date, you can see Chinese almost every country. Okay, a majority of country today is 135 of the country. China are their number one trade partners. Okay, so what is the key takeaway? When I was giving the speech in the US to CH2MQ, in Japan to Mitsubishi Electric and Mitsui, or Israel in Temco, or NEF in Switzerland, they asked me a question: why so fast? Ask them a question back. How many chamber of commerce do you have in South Asia per country, or in China? They say, only one or two. But you know how many of these chamber of commerce by the Chinese in majority of the country, like in Singapore, close to 28. Okay, when I was doing business in so-called Cambodia, in 20 years ago, there were only a handful of Chinese. But today, they have close to 500,000 Chinese in Cambodia. Right? Likewise, the same proportional number in different countries. Okay, so the key word here is penetration. They know the local market, they know how to ground information so that they can do better business in all this country. Now, after knowing the facts, we look at the capacity. Capacity meaning the quality is not now, but also what will bring them up to the next 5 years and next 10 years. So it's important for us to know so that we can prepare not at this level, but know the future, so that we can prepare ourselves to compete with them, or to partner with them, or to serve them, or to learn from them. I want to go through every point, but the key point here is the Chinese so-called the master planning. They are by this Fa Kai Wei, okay? And look at this infrastructure. They cover not only on highway, the train, airport, and also the high-speed rail, right? And the traditional infrastructure, when they say they build it, right? Not only that, the next so-called the 14.5 so-called the new infrastructures, they will cover a lot of areas, not only just not continue to enhance their traditional infrastructure, but also the IT area, how to support their smart city, their tech park, and R&D capability, right? So that's why we need to understand the Chinese, they are very good in this infrastructure building. Now, you ask me why, why they're so successful. The keyword is centralized government, where they have consolidated their resources and build at one. Okay, unlike US and India, it's hard for the there's no central government to make the decision China is different. At the same time, Chinese, they have a so-called free market because of the businessmen. Okay, they are able to so-called develop market not only in China but also across the world. And you also see the improvement, like the number of these industrial parks in China are getting better and better and more. And the new infrastructure were able to support their R&D capability, manufacturing capability. And look at this chart, they are zooming, okay? And like each of this zoom, right, they were able to so-called cooperate better among the city. Like if this zoom is something like one ASEAN, there are 5 ASEAN, or maybe a few US and a few Europe, few EU, right? They were able to improve their domestic logistics, not only the domestic market, but also the research capability, right? And because supply and demand, we are able to improve their supply capability, right? Because they already have created the demand all across the world, okay? Now, with Belt and Road, I want to go through detail, but the key thing is, one point I would like to draw your attention is, in 2018, ASEAN was the number 3 market of China. Then in 2019, took over US as the number 2. And since 2020, ASEAN became the number 1 trade partner of China to each other. And at the same time, this Belt and Road initiative also stimulate and other initiatives like Singapore, Chongqing, Singapore, Chongqing to Beipu 1 to Singapore. This is Luhai Tong. So some people may say the Belt and Road may not be successful, but even they are 30% successful, it will continue to enhance China's so-called the world trading capability. Now, you back to here. Another point I'd like to highlight is in terms of talents. You refer to here, the top number of students in the US. In the early 60s, Taiwanese were the number 1 student in the US. But that's why in 80 and so on, a lot of professors are from Taiwan. But in 1980, Korea was the number 1 student in about 2 to 3 times of Taiwanese. So my Japanese roommate, and who is a very successful businessman now in Japan, told me that at that time, he said, Korea were able to close the gap, technology gap between Japan and Korea because of this talent. And true enough, now we have LG, Hyundai, and this Samsung are able to compete with the Japanese across the world. Then in the early 90s, the Indian number of students will become the number 1 in the US. My Taiwanese friend told me that the Indian will create an impact in the world. And true enough, now the Indian are not only good in US and across the world, and also in Singapore. That is something that we need to learn from them. This is another topic we can discuss in the future. And look at the Chinese. Today, the number of Chinese in the US student is about 2 to 3 times the number of Indians. And you across the world could be 4 times. Okay. So what is the impact of this number of students? You read this curve. This is a donation of the Chinese, okay, to the university. It's changing now, right? You look at 2010, there were only 1 billion donation to the top 10 university, to the Chinese university. And today, 2021 is close to 100 billion. All this investment into the university, it can convert into the R&D power, also talent capacity building, right? Only in March this year, 1 Chinese billionaire, right, Cao Dewan, donated 10 billion to build 1 R&D company, technology university. And this Sihu University, within a short time, they can raise 5 billion, right? So people say, oh, this is only, some people say, oh, it's only Chinese talent. No, if you go to Shenzhen, if you go to Shanghai, Xi'an, Chengdu, Beijing, you're able to find many of these talents, okay, come from Israel, Eastern Europe, and even return from US, Japan, and so on. There are many researchers are in China now because of the business opportunity, because of the market, right? Including many of these Singapore so-called China-born citizens, right? The researchers in NUS, NTU, they also return to China, right? To enhance their research capability. One of the key reasons because it's business opportunity. Whatever the research, they are able to produce into the market. I give one example. Like fuzzy logic was invented in 1965 by a Iranian Russian who migrated to US, right, 1965. But in 1980, the Japanese bought over the IP and turned into, because the Japanese at that time, they were a big trade partner of many countries. They convert the so-called this technology, fuzzy logic, into a few $100 billion business market. So just imagine all this R&D talent, they were with the China's market, domestic market, also international market. They were able to produce a lot of this unicorn and big technology, a big company in the world. So in terms of soft power, okay, 10 years ago in 2018, and you can see the influence will be a lot more, will be greater than the US for one key reason, right? If there's no war, no security, everybody care about the number one care element or topic is trading. So trading is the most important thing to all these countries, okay, including Singapore. So look at all those facts and the so-called national capacity. We can see that the China will outgun the US and many other countries, right? So because they have a big domestic market, they have the good manufacturing capability, and it's supply and demand. Okay, they have the demand at the same time they have the supply, and not only that, they have the talent to know how to capitalize it. Okay, and capitalize is not only just their own talent; they are able to attract talents from all over the world now. This is a very good article about the rise of China, and the keyword here is 得天下者，得人才者，得人才者得天下. Whoever to get the talent will able to capture, will continue to grow. Okay, increase the key capacity. And somebody keep mentioning that now the information effect is flat, but in fact, 2,000 years ago, the information is already flat when the Chinese travel to overseas to study. Okay, so that's why today, 10 to 20 years later, they are able to optimize the capacity of Chinese and capitalize it and in different areas, not only in trading, but also in VC and investment area. So the keyword is here, 得市场者，得独角兽. The one who able to create the market will able to capture the unicorn, not only the Chinese unicorn, but the world unicorns. Okay. Now, that's why it's very important for us to understand the Chinese, the capacity to grow, so that we can prepare ourselves and how to work with them, how to partner with them, or how to compete with them, or even how to serve them, or even if they want to become a mentor, we must prepare ourselves so that we can learn fast enough, okay, from them. So some of these experts, and remember, the wrong information will lead to wrong conclusion, right? To understand Chinese, it's not just like language, knowing the culture, and not only just because of they think that there is a size or the quantity and so on. It's more than that, okay? So we need to have a very positive and comprehensive way to understand Chinese in order to prepare ourselves for the unicorn of the futures. So you cannot learn from the US just because somebody are doing better than you, you hold them back. In fact, we should have a positive angle to study the Chinese and know them so that we can compete with them if you have the capability, or partner with them, or you serve them, or to learn from them. So this is a very interesting survey. In 2008, China was the #1 market, right, for Singaporean to SME choice of overseas expansion market. But in 2018, China dropped to #9. Why? Because majority of these Singaporean, if not higher, at least 90% or higher, fail in China or not doing well in China. And on the other hand, many Chinese are traveling overseas, not only to Singapore, to across the world. So the key thing is, we know the market, they are there, okay? Be it whether in China market, South Asia market, right? We must know two things. The fish, do you have the skill? Do you have the net to capture it? Even you have the net, do you have the skill to capture it? So this is a question that we need to ask. So if you don't have it, find the right mentor with the right resources, which is very important. Now, the fundamental of unicorn or any business, you must have good product. Your product is not good enough, okay, you cannot compete. Good management, shareholder, and cash. But above all this, most important thing is market. But there are two. Short term is to compete. Long term is to create. So the Chinese, they are very, very innovative in business model. That's because of the social education in China. Now, so to be the unicorn of the future, you must study the market. Very, very important. So to understand the Chinese, I will sum up this, I so-called the 2020 theory. Like Deng Xiaoping say, 黑猫白猫能够捉老鼠的就是好猫. Somebody complained about, when I given the speed overseas, they complain about the scam, the con man, or so on in China. But when I ask them a question, how many percent of the people you think that is con man or bad in your country? All of them reply 20%. Same thing. China is also 20%. In fact, I meet more Singapore con men in overseas more than any other race. Okay, so the point here is every country have their own problem. So, and all these successful businessmen, their strength is not only they can compete with the white cat, but at the same time, they can manage the black cats. So if you say 20% is close to 600 million, that's a 2 times of US. If you're down to 2%, it's still 60 million. That's why for Chinese to be successful, they must be different, okay? So US and Israel, they are very, very creative because of the imagination, because of the social education in their country. Well, Chinese, you need social education. Their country, in order to survive, they must be able to manage the 20% of the good one and manage the 20% of the bad one. Okay, so that would drive them to be a very 谋略民族, right? In order for them to be successful. That's why the Chinese can produce a lot of this product fast, good, and cheap, which is not possible in many countries. Another thing about Chinese is they are very adaptive. Okay, so now next study about Singapore. What should we do? Or apply to European and apply to American, to any other country. You have your own ecosystem. Well, for Singapore, thanks to our government, okay, I used to against the government, something not against, challenge because for the poor. But later on, when I studied overseas across the world, I began to appreciate our government. I support them, okay, because today our ecosystem, okay, it took us more than 56 years to build, and each ecosystem take at least 10 years to build. And today, what you see Singapore, the success of Singapore, I call it Singapore integrated ecosystem, right? From each of this hub, it take at least 10 years to build one of them. And because of that, we are able to attract the talents, come from overseas, come from MNC, and also come from the high net worth individual. And at the same time, our government did an excellent job in producing top students, top IB, almost 50% of top IB program, 18% of the top A-level students in the world. Okay, and also government support a lot in IP, R&D, Institute of Higher Learning, and SME. But the question is, we produce only a handful of all these unicorns. Okay, and C-suite leader. When I say C-suite leader, it's not just in Singapore, but you are able to learn from the Indian, can travel over the world to be the key management, right? Or the number that's from Singapore is only handful, right? Another thing is learn from sustainable big company. So the question is, what is the missing link? When we have such a big unicorn, we invest so much in education, we invest so much in investment, yet we produce so little unicorn, C-suite leader, and sustainable big MC. Okay, so this is a big question that we need to ask ourselves. What is the missing link? So the Singapore unicorn continue to improve thanks to our government. They are very strategic in terms of macro perspective. Okay, right? And same as our so-called, we do have some successful businessmen in China. Okay, in real estate, microchip, games, and sound card. but the size is compared to the Chinese, you can say peanut is small. But nevertheless, the two questions we need to ask: why we are not big enough? Second question is, are we able to continue, right? Because many of these top businessmen in the early stage of Chinese, many of them have failed and returned to Singapore. Okay, so in other words, we need to continue to improve in order to do business in China. Now, then some people will say, well, we do have unicorn in Singapore. Okay, you take a look. The unicorn in Singapore, or the big company, also called the established company in Singapore, right? If you take away, the rest are all the founder of all so-called the foreign born, especially the SM2. Many of them come from this so-called our MOE program SM2. Unfortunately, because of after the election, we cut down this SM2 from to close to 50%. But just imagine, without all these talents, we left only one. If the combination of just this five, is a few times of UBS and 20 times of Razer. So the keyword here is we need to value the talent and learn from them. Okay. Same thing we learn from the past. We spend money to build all this company and support this company. And in the end, we sold them. At the same time, we also have to learn from across the world, the unicorn that failed. Why? It's close to 20% fail within short times. So the missing link here is, I'd like to share is mindset. So a lot of us, this is just a cone. You at different level, you will see different things. You will see different information. You get to know different part of the world. So many of these experts, or they will say, oh, I know the world. So the question is, are you benchmarking with the best? Okay, now, even you have the information, like a lot of government agency, right? They have all the information, right? But the question is, what is your processing skill? Do you have the experience and resources to convert this information into market, into capitalize it? So processing skill, again, is different level. Which level of processing skill are you? Okay, so we have this so-called mentorship in the past to mentor the student, mentor the startup, and so on. But the question is, this mentor, how good are they? At which level? Right? So if you have the wrong mentor, you may have the wrong result. Okay, so the question is, different mentor, different processing skill, and different experience and different resources will give you a different result. And this graph may be able to summarize better. So the information that you have must be benchmarked with the world. Second, the skill also. Third, we have this new initiative, very good initiative, Emerging Stronger Task Force, right? It talk about skill and train the people with the skill and the knowledge. The question is, experience and resources you cannot train. Another thing is market capitalization. So the key point I'd like to share is to reimagine the future unicorn, right? We must learn from the Chinese to understand their strength, learn from the US, their imagination power. So to build this global capacity, right? To sum up, this is the way to become a unicorn in the future, but we must at the global level, right? And we will not have, like the Chinese have all the so-called every level, but we have the Singapore ecosystem. We should so-called value the foreign talent, the foreign entrepreneur, and MNC, also our own talent, our own entrepreneurs, our MNC management. Value them, optimize them, and capitalize them. Right? To do that, we have to nurture our Singapore global ready management, MNC management, entrepreneur, and a new generation. Right. To do that, this is a problem that the missing link that we have right now, the model in the past model. That's why we did not produce enough unicorn or successful businessmen, right? What we propose here is SMC. The idea we gather the China and Singapore high net worth entrepreneur. Why high net worth individual? Because these are so-called successful businessmen overseas, and they are proven in overseas, right? Not a normal SME. Or then same as a MNC. They are big company so that they can see at a global perspective. At the same time, they have these resources and experience. And the vision of SMC is to do good, to nurture help Singapore to nurture the next generation, global ready next generation. But at the same time, we have this so-called SMC for business, right? For the first generation, also for Singapore talents, right? For the second generation, also for Singapore talents, right? The key chemistry that we can bind them together is family legacy. Then later on, we find that maybe China plus Singapore, 中国通跟新加坡通 become 四全四美. But later on, we find that that's not good enough. We need to include the 世界通, 中国通, 新加坡通, then become perfect. That's why we have this model called IES, right? IES is called Collaborative Integrated Ecosystem. This is not an agency or formal partnership, but this initiative is to collectively tapping on every partner's strength for the benefit of its member and the new generation. So what we propose, and this IES with our partner, is to form this so-called integrated ecosystem. Right? We have members come from the Institute of Higher Learning, SMC, SICC, Law Society, and Business China. We are tapping on each other's strength, right? So that we can come up with so-called the collaborative global cohesion program to help to nurture next generation leader, right? So this collaborative global cohesion program is an initiative that we're going to kick off with different universities. So we welcome the MOE, the Emergency Task Force Committee, and the leader of all university and poly contact us. We want to help you. We're here to help you. So in conclusion, how to reimagine the unicorn of the future? We must know ourselves in the past and know the present strength of our competitors and know how to gear up ourselves for the future with the right skill. If you don't have it, you must know how to cooperate with the right partners. So to nurture this global ready next generation, or yourself to be global ready unicorn, you must ask yourself these few questions. Do you understand the capacity of US and China? Are you global ready? Do you know how to writing on the global ready platform? It's your mindset, especially the parents. Don't blame the government. They have done enough for us. Okay? You must change yourself first. Improve your mindset to get yourself ready so that you can nurture your next generation. If not, your next generation will face a lot of more challenge, a lot more hurdle in the future. So you must change your mindset to get ready, especially those leaders in the institution. Okay? And next, you must value and optimize and capitalize the local and as well as the overseas talent, be it whether student, professional, and high net worth entrepreneur and MNC leader, right? So open up your school, invite more SM2 students come in, right? Capitalize on their brain, right? Train them to help us and help themselves, okay? And leverage on Singapore integrated ecosystem. Last but not least, join this so-called the collaborative global capacity, how to build this one together with our China, ASEAN international partner, and also cooperate with different ecosystems, just like the IES ecosystem initiative that we propose. Thank you. For those we are here to help Singapore to nurture the global ready new generation. We welcome Emergency Stronger Task Force Committee, MOE, any Institute of Higher Learning, any university, poly to contact us. We want to work together so that we can reimagine the unicorn of the future. Thank you.